Hello everyone and welcome back to Jacqs Scraps. Thanks for joining me today for a design team project for Country Craft Creations. We are going to be creating the Wizard Robe card, and I do have a cut file and pattern bundle available for this. It will be free for 24 hours. I'll have the link for that in my description box below. So don't forget to pick it up. So here is the card that I have created. This is a 5x7 Wizard Robe card. And I call it that because if you look here on the front, you see like the robes of the wizards in Harry Potter. And this was so influenced by the house colors that were included in the Adventures in Magic paper collection by Country Craft Creations that I just had to do this. I've been wanting to create this type of card for a while now, and so I decided just make cut files and make it easy for everyone. So that's what I did. So you can follow along using the cut files, or you can use the patterns that are in the bundle. To create this card here, I used black artisan cardstock, green artisan cardstock. I used a white and a silver or gray color cardstock that I had in my stash. And then of course the tie pattern is from the Adventures in Magic paper collection. Now, I designed this the way that I wanted it to look, so I left the robes open because that's kind of how you see them mainly in the movies. And if you want them to be touching, then you would just need to resize the robe, make it a little bit wider. What I did here was added a sticker that I had in my stash, and it's a Slytherin house emblem. And then, of course, I did some layering here for the, they call them jumpers in Britain, the sweaters. And so I did some layering here with the vest and made it a V-neck. And then I cut out some collar pieces here to give you the illusion that there is a white shirt underneath this jumper. Now, I made this tie a little bit wonky, but that was just to make it a little bit more playful. And there is 2 layers to the tie. You have one base piece, which is the full piece. And then I did just the top of the tie so that you could layer it up. And here I layered it up on some 1/2 inch glue dots just to give it some dimension. The tie itself is probably only about this big. It tucks underneath the V-neck here. And then when we go inside, I didn't really finish decorating the inside yet, but I did add a little chibi, I think it's called chibi, sticker here and then one up here. So I thought that was very Slytherin. But I'll probably add some more of the paper, but I'm really kind of trying to conserve my paper until I make my second project. So that's probably when I'll come back and add more to the inside. But this will get you started on creating the project. Now we're going to create another one of these cards in Gryffindor colors because that is my house. And if you stick with me to the end, I will be showing you how you can use the cut file and patterns to use this design to create a card for a male individual or someone who likes jumpers. So don't forget to stick around to the end to see that card design. Now I'm going to get started with the tutorial, so I thank you for joining me and seeing the card design. I hope you follow all the way through, but if you can't, thank you so much, and I hope you bookmark this for when you do have some crafty time and you can come back to it and create along with me. For those that can stay, the first thing I'm going to do is kind of walk through using the cut files with Cricut Design Space, and then we'll go to the table to recreate this with Gryffindor colors. So let's get started. Once you've downloaded the Wizard Robe card from my Ko-fi shop, you're going to open the zip file that's included in the purchase. And what I did was create a folder on my own desktop where I keep my files, and now I'm going to select all of them from the zip folder and drag them over into my computer files, and then just close the zip file. Now I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space. I'm going to select New Project up at the top right, I'm going to select Upload in the left-hand corner in the menu area, and then select Upload Image. Over on the right, you'll see the files that I just downloaded and placed on my computer. And I'm going to go to the SVG folder, and the first file there is All Files, Wizard Robe Card. For the SVGs, you click on that and drag it over into the upload area of Cricut Design Space. You'll see the full image here. I'm just going to copy this name into the tags and click on Upload down at the lower right-hand corner. You'll see that is the first image that's in our recent uploads. Click on that to where you see the green box going around it, and then click Add to Canvas down in the lower right-hand corner. Now this brought it into Cricut Design Space at a very large size. So I'm going to go back to my files on the right-hand side here, open up the PDF, and I'm going to move this over to the side here. And if I scroll down to thumbnails, I will see the file size here at the bottom for the group, and it should be 10 by 7. So I'm going to go back over here to Cricut Design Space, change my width to be 10. I'm going to unlock the little key there and make sure that the height is at 7, and then just relock it. Now this is one full image. What you want to do next is go over to the right-hand panel, click the first button, which is the ungroup, and now everything is ungrouped. So the first thing I want to do is click off of that image. I'm going to click on the white space on the back left side and bring that down. This is the card base. If you look over in the right hand corner, you'll see that that is one group all on its own. I'm going to click on the line that's showing there, the first image. It says basic cut, and if you look over here to the screen on the left, you'll see that the inner line is selected. I'm going to go up here to operations, click on the down arrow, and change that to score line. Now if I was to click off of that, you'll see that we now have a dotted line, meaning it's a score line. Now I'm going to select those two images, and you can see that they're all selected by looking over on the right hand side, those that are all highlighted. Down at the bottom, I'm going to click on attach. And now that is one image that can freely be moved around. It will be cut and scored. But I did just notice that the sizing is not 10 by 7, so I am going to go back up here, do the unlock, and change that size to 7. I don't know why it's changing my sizes. And you know what? Before I do anything else, I'm going to select on this group of all the rest of the images, and I'm going to group them back together, and I'm going to unlock this, making sure that this says 7 for height, and the width should be 5. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ungroup those again. So now I'm going to go through and verify all of the sizes for the rest of the images using my PDF on the right-hand side and comparing that to Cricut Design Space. So the first image we have here after the card base is the collar. So I'm going to click on that image over in the right-hand panel, and I'm going to make sure it is 4.875, and I'm going to click the unlock and change that to 2.125, and then relock that. Now if you want, you can move these out as you resize them, it doesn't matter, or you can leave them where they are. Now I'm going to change the jumper. What's nice about having the PDF open as you look at your Cricut Design Space images is that the patterns and the images will match, right? So they'll easily be identifiable in the right-hand panel. So I'm just going to click on the jumper there, and now it's selected over here on the canvas. And I'm going to check the sizes, and again, it's not correct, so I'm going to change that by unlocking the key and clicking 5 by 7. And I'll just move that out to show that I've done that one. So let's go down to the next images, and it's the V-neck images. So the smallest is on top, so we can click on that one and resize these as they are marked out here at the top of the PDF. Now I'm going to go ahead and resize the rest of these, and then I'll come back on and tell you the next steps. Okay, now I have verified all of the sizes for the images that I just uploaded. If you want to, you can go through the images here and make some more groups. Like if you wanted to group all of the V-neck images together, just click on one, hold the Shift key, and then click on the next two, and then click the group button at the top, and then you'll see that's a group now. You could do the same for the tie. Click one image, click the next tie image, and group those. You could group the two robe pieces together, and then the two color robe pieces together. And then that way, everything's just grouped a little bit more. If you want it to be that organized, it doesn't really matter. It's just purely up to you and what you like. As you can see, I have pre-colored all of the images. So when we click on Make It, you'll see that there are different color mats over here in the left-hand panel. And that way, you'll know when to change the mat for which item that you're working on. Now, if you want to change these to match a different house color, you could certainly do that. You could change these to Slytherin, Hufflepuff, or even a Ravenclaw. But you can go ahead and do those separately. I'm just going to leave them with the Gryffindor colors because that's what I am. And I'm going to go ahead now and click on Make It in the upper right hand corner and start cutting these out. Okay, so I'm just going to lay out my pieces here, and this is the 10 by 7 cardstock for the card base. This will be scored in half at 5 inches. So let's go ahead and fold that just so that we can get that crease in there. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that. And then here are all my other little pieces. And I did want to show you, this is the sticker book that I used to get the little emblem for the house. There's Hufflepuff, there's Ravenclaw. I think I got this at Walmart for like $1. Pretty sure that's where I got it. There we go, Gryffindor. So I'll be using that one. So for the pieces, let's go ahead and just start layering these all together. Now the sizes of all of the images that we're using is in the sizing guide, and again, that's part of the bundle, which is linked down below and free for 24 hours. I'm going to line this up with my card base at the bottom. There we go. It should fit right straight across the top. If there's any overages, just trim it, but there shouldn't be. Now, if you want to recreate the jumper by hand, cut your square out at 5 by 7. Go over about 3/8 of an inch, make a tick mark. Go in from the edge here, 3/8 of an inch, make a tick mark. From the bottom, measure up 3 3/8 inch in the center here, and then you will be able to match up those tick marks and have a V to be cut out, okay? Let's see. Next, let's add the robes. You need 2 of those cut out, and these measure at the widest part, and what is that? About 2 7/16 of an inch by 7. Yep. And we're just going to glue these down. This card is super easy to make, especially if you use the cut files. I mean, the hardest part really was for me to figure out the cardstock. So I'm lining this up with the left side of my card base. It should be straight along the edge of the card base and straight along the bottom. And now we're going to repeat that on the other side. It's easier to just turn it on the side. Match up the bottom first and then go all the way along the edge, keeping it straight. Next, you'll need to cut out 2 pieces for what I'm calling the robe colors. Because if you notice, if they leave the robes open, you can see the house colors there on the edge. So that's what that represents. If you want to recreate the robe colors without the cut files, you would create a 3/16 inch wide by 7 1/4 rectangle. From the top, you're going to go down 2 1/8 inch, make a tick mark over here on the edge, and then you're going to cut your rectangle from the right top corner down to your tick mark, and then from that tick mark down to the right corner here. So then you'd be cutting off these sides. That will fit one side, and then you need to do the same on the other side, but you would need to mirror that, right? So here we worked on the left-hand side. On this one, if you had your 13/16 inch wide by 7 1/4 rectangle, you would make your tick mark 2 1/8 inches down on the right-hand side, and then you would cut toward the left, okay? And then these get glued on here on top of the robe. Go right up to the top there of the robe, and then follow along the edge of the robe. So I'm just going right over top of where the robe is. Hope you can see that all the way down to the bottom. It does get very thin here at the bottom. And then now we're going to add our second piece of the robe on top. Again, lining those sides up. So let's set this aside a moment. We're going to talk about the V neck is what I'm calling it. And for this and the jumper itself, I used My Colors cardstock, the charcoal color. I wanted a bit of a darker gray for Gryffindor. And then I used a wine color that I had in my stash, which is going to get layered on top of that. And then I also had My Colors Gold Rush. The My Colors I picked up from Cricut Creations. They have a great variety there. And then that will get layered on top. So it will look like this once we get it done. Now, as you can see, these are 3 different sizes. To make the largest one, you would need to make it 4 3/8 by about 4 7/8. Cut that kind of a rectangle out. So from the edge of your left-hand side of your square, let's say, or rectangle, measure in 3/4 of an inch, make a tick mark. From the right-hand side, measure in 3/4 of an inch, make a tick mark. For the bottom, find the center of the piece that we cut out, right? Then you would cut from the edge of your paper down to the center to cut this part off. And then the same over here. For the middle of the V, you would then go up from the center 1 1/4 inches, about. See, my measurements are not exact because that's just how they came out when I was designing it. But this is about 1 1/4 inches. So when you have the center cut, go up 1 1/4 inches, make a tick mark, and then from this tick mark to this one, cut, from this one to this one, cut. Okay? And that will give you your V. From there, you kind of want to just continue to cut them down. So this one would have been 4 1/4 inches by 4 3/4. This one is 4 inches. Well, it's actually almost 4 1/8. As you can see there, it's in between the 1/16 and the 8 by 4 1/2. So once you have the base sizes, which I just gave you, and you do the little tick marks, you should be able to figure it out. For the flat part here, it measures 9/16 of an inch, which is almost 5/8 of an inch. Sorry, you guys, it's just how it is when you're designing. And this one is about 5/16 of an inch, the mark right past 1/4 of an inch. So I hope that helps you. You really just need 3 V's that are staggering in sizes. And I'm trying to provide you measurements so that, again, if you don't want to pick up the cut file and pattern bundle, you'll still be able to make this by hand. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to you. So now we're going to glue these 2 V's together. I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side, putting it at the top of the gray V and centering that to the best of my ability, right there. And then let it drop, and it should go right on into place and meet all the way at the top on this side, okay? You want them flush at the top. And we're going to repeat that with the Gold Rush. This time we're going to put it in the center of the wine color all the way at the top, and then let that fall down to make sure it's in place, and it should line up on the other side. Okay? Now our V-neck gets layered on top of the jumper, right where the V is. They don't line up down here at the bottom. That's not correct, okay? So if you see this, that's not right. You want to bring it all the way up to the top. It'll be in alignment with the top of our card base and in between our robe colors. So that means it's like halfway on the jumper there, if you can see that. Like this, okay? And here's the tie. I think it's so cute. This actually gets layered underneath the V-neck. So you could lay this out on the card base where you think the V part goes, and then kind of eyeball where you want the tie, and then glue the tie down, and then do the V-necks. Or you can glue these down partially and then tuck this in and maybe add some more glue afterward. It all depends on how you want to do it. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to do it without gluing it down to see how hard that is. Last time I did it partially. Okay, so I have it in place to where I think it's going to be. But I'm going to lift this side up, kind of tuck in my tie, and get that centered, bringing it up to the top of the card base. Oh yeah, I think that's actually an easy way to do it. So I would just line the V-necks up and keep your hand on one side of it, and then tuck your tie in there. Much easier. Okay. So these are in alignment. These are going to go on top. And like I said, the tie is wonky, so don't worry about that. It's going to look wonderful. Now, here's the other thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if you can see here, but I layered the V-neck on as a whole piece, right? And then put my white cardstock on top of it. I don't know if you can tell, so of course that's going to raise the white cardstock, right? See there where it gets a little bumpy for the white cardstock? If you don't like that look, you could kind of fit your collar and then cut down the V-neck. You would have to be very careful about how you did it. Even then, a little piece of it would be underneath there, but it wouldn't be as bulky as this is. I don't know, it doesn't really bother me, but I did want to point that out to you. The next thing I wanted to, oh darn it, we didn't need to, do not glue the top of your tie all the way down. Why is there always something? Okay. Don't glue this part all the way down yet. Okay. It'll be all right. So anyways, leave the top of the tie open still and then just burnish this part of the tie down. And like I mentioned, the tie is supposed to be wonky, so don't worry about it. If you want a nice sized tie, then you'll have to make your own. And I don't know if I gave you any measurements for that. It is 3 3/8 inches long. The widest part is 1 5/8, and that's at the top. So again, if you made a long rectangle, you know, you could just cut a point. How far up did I go? About 1 1/4 inches up. Find the center. Go 1 1/4 inches up. On the right hand side, make a tick mark. On the left hand side, make a tick mark. And then from the center, cut those pieces off. You could then hand round this in and out. I don't know how to tell you to make that part. But again, it's so much easier if you use the patterns or cut files that I provided. But I've never made a tie by hand other than the one I did electronically. So there's that. And then once I had this piece made, all I did was duplicate it and then cut the base part of it off to get the top piece, right? So that was the V-neck. For the collar, you can use it as it is with it being one piece, and it gets tucked underneath the tie, right? So I think I need to pull my tie up a little bit more. There we go. So it gets tucked up underneath there. It will be flush with the top of the card base, just like we've been doing everything else. I wanted to show you that there's two options that you can do. You can use the collar as one piece and it will line up with the V-neck, or you can cut it in half. So that's why I left the option for you. You know, I like to leave you options when you're creating. So I personally like to cut it in half, and then that way it looks like it's going out beyond the V-neck. And to me, that just seems a little bit more natural. Line the points of our little collar up with the top of our card and the top of our robe color, right like that. Make sure it's straight across the top. Now the collar's individual pieces measure 2 3/8 by 2 1/8. Again, you would kind of make it the same way I've been talking about. You would have your square, right? That is 2 3/8 by 2 1/8. Find the center, make a tick mark. From the top corner to your tick mark, make a line, cut that part off. Do the same on the left-hand side. And then you'll have your collar piece. Okay, we're going to take this and tuck it underneath the tie, lining up our points here on the corner. And at the top, make sure it goes straight across. There we go. And burnish that down. Now we can glue down our tie. And I've added my glue dots to the back of the top part of the tie knot, as I called it in the sizing guide. And we just place that on top like that. Now we are ready to add our emblem. And that can go down here. And add a little something on the inside before you send it to someone. So that's our card for today. I hope you have enjoyed creating this Wizard Robe card with me. I have enjoyed creating both of these. And as I promised, here is the second design that I created using the same cut file and pattern bundle. Now, this would be perfect for any male human and for birthdays, anniversaries, just because, congratulations, any type of design. I did not use the robe or the robe colors. I kept the jumper or sweater. In this case, I made it look like a sweater vest with the diamond design. I used the bottom V-neck, and that was the largest one. And then the collar, of course, and then the base tie. I did not use the tie knot, which is the additional piece that goes on the top there. But it still looks just as good, and I love it. I'm loving that this has different ways that you can use the cut file and pattern bundle. I mean, if you have a girl that wears vest and a tie, send this off to her in some pinks or whatever color she likes. It's just that easy to translate this into any gender that you might be needing a card for. So I love this. I hope you give it a try. If you do, please share photos. You can share them on Instagram and tag me on my Facebook, and even in Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creation Facebook. I would love to see your design. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.